Eminem's mother, Debbie Nelson, has died. E.T. can confirm she died after a battle with lung cancer. Debbie was 69 years old.
Recently died at 69, but ugly details are now emerging, some too shocking to be taken seriously. The two had a fraught relationship immortalized in many of Eminem's earliest hits. Dennis Dennehy, a longtime representative for Eminem, confirmed her death. He did not say where she died or cite a cause. Nelson was known for her fraught relationship with Eminem, who, through sheer talent, went from being a bullied little boy named Marshall Mathers to a hugely successful rapper. He wrote about their struggles in several songs, including one of his biggest hits. In his rage-fueled, freewheeling 2002 single, Cleaning Out My Closet, Eminem has a reckoning with his mother over his upbringing, accusing her of neglect, abuse, and prescription pill abuse. In the chorus, he sarcastically apologizes for making her cry, only to add, "How dare you try to take what you didn't help me to get?" Nelson, who sued her son for defamation in 1999 over another unflattering representation of her in his song My Name Is, shared her account of their relationship in a no-holds-barred memoir, My Son Marshall, My Son Eminem, which was published in 2008. Deborah Ray Nelson was born on January 6, 1955, to Betty Hickson and Bob Nelson. She and Eminem's father, Marshall Mathers Jr., performed in a band called Daddy Warbucks and married when she was a teenager. At 17, on October 17, 1972, she gave birth to her son Marshall after more than 72 hours of labor. Nelson, who for a time went by the name Debbie Mathers, but resumed using her maiden name after her son's rise to fame, divorced Mr. Mathers when Marshall was an infant. What ensued was an itinerant decade, one in which the two bounced from home to home, and Marshall went from school to school before they settled in Detroit. By the late 1980s, Marshall had discovered hip-hop and had assumed the name M&M. Around that time, Nelson allowed a teenage girl who had run away from home to stay with them, she told Salon in 2000. Eminem later developed a relationship with the girl, Kim Scott, and the two eventually married and had a daughter. M's mom sought $10 million in damages in her 1999 defamation suit, but she later said that the suit had been her lawyer's idea. She settled out of court for $25,000, most of it legal fees. In a 2000 music video meant to address the lawsuit, Nelson apologized over music and a photo montage, but added that her unconditional love created a spoiled young man, an angry one too. Anything Marshall wanted, he got, Nelson told Salon that same year. I sheltered him too much, and I think there's a little resentment from that. In Lose Yourself, a single from the 8 Mile movie soundtrack that sold more than 10 million copies and won 2 Grammy Awards in 2004, Eminem nodded more affectionately to his mother, Nelson, with a reference to Mom's spaghetti. The tapper would go on to repurpose the name for a line of pasta sauce and a Detroit restaurant. But in the 2009 track, My Mom, he drew a direct line between his issues with drug addiction and hers, claiming that she had sprinkled Valium on his food. In a 2008 memoir, The Way I Am, Eminem did not go into as much detail about his mother as he did in his songs, but wrote in a section about his family, "If you go back and look at the abuse that I took, it's no surprise I became who I am." And in 2010, he told the New York Times Magazine, "It'd be very hard to repair that relationship." In addition to Eminem, Nelson's survivors include another son, Nathan Mathers, and several grandchildren. She was married and divorced at least twice. For years, she ran a taxi service in St. Joseph, Missouri, where she lived with her last husband, John Briggs. As often as they clashed, it seemed, Eminem and his mother tried to reconcile. In his 2013 track, Headlights, he showed remorse for his harsh lyrics and a greater understanding of her struggles. "I'm sorry, Mama, for cleaning out my closet," he raps. "At the time, I was angry. Rightfully, maybe so. Never meant that far to take it, though." According to the song, the two remained estranged. But when Eminem was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2022, Nelson publicly congratulated him online. "Marshall, I want to say I could not let this day go by without congratulating you," she said in a video that was later deleted. "I love you very much. I knew you'd get there. It's been a long ride. I'm very, very proud of you." In her childhood, Nelson was the eldest of 5 children. Her parents married young. Betty Nelson married Bob Nelson at 14 years old, had Debbie at 15, and relied heavily on Nelson to help provide for the family. By age 11, Nelson would go alone to collect surplus food and was put in charge of keeping the house, caring for my brothers, cooking and cleaning. She wrote in her memoir, My Son Marshall, My Son Eminem. In an interview with Village Voice, Nelson touched on the possibility of reconciliation with Eminem. I'm not ever going to give up on my kids. I won't give up on anybody, she told the outlet. There's hope for everybody. It's a matter of just basically swallowing your pride. It's like a cash check. It's over. It's done. You need to move on. But the estranged mother probably became who she was because of her upbringing. Nelson said she grew up in a large, dysfunctional family. Her parents split in 1964 when her mother welcomed a daughter with another man. Nelson wrote that her relationship with her father became strained after he remarried and adopted his wife's 2 children, one of whom shared her name. One of them was called Debbie, just like me. That broke my heart, she revealed. It meant there were 2 Debbie Nelsons, and he obviously preferred his adopted daughter to me. He turned his back on us completely, acting as though we didn't exist. In her memoir, Nelson recalled how she and her siblings began sleeping on the porch to escape their stepfather's allegedly abusive behavior. Eventually, she wrote that she realized that her only way out was to run away and get married. Nelson wed her high school sweetheart, Marshall Bruce Mathers, on September 20th, 1970. The pair hung out in the same friend group, though their relationship was initially strictly platonic. Romantically, I thought he was way out of my league, Nelson revealed in her memoir. But after he had rescued me from my stepfather, we started talking about our hopes and dreams for the future, she continued. I told him I prayed every night for a better life. All I ever wanted was a husband who loved me, a nice home, and a big brood of children. Bruce felt the same. The pair eventually went their separate ways after Eminem's birth. Sadly, Nelson almost died while giving birth to Em. 72 hours into labor, Nelson began experiencing seizures and losing consciousness as a result of toxicoma blood poisoning. She went into a coma soon after delivering her first child, Marshall Bruce Mathers III, and didn't wake until several days later. The labor pains began in earnest, she wrote in My Son Marshall, My Son Eminem. I remember holding a nurse's hand and counting spots on the ceiling to take my mind off of the contractions. Nelson said she wasn't offered an emergency C-section and that a nurse told her she and the baby were going to die if you don't push. She recalled waking up in the recovery room to a priest praying over her. From the moment he was born, my son Marshall was a beautiful actor. He knew exactly how to look at me from under his long, dark eyelashes and put on a show, Nelson wrote. Eminem was 13 years old when he was promoted to Big Brother. At the time, Nelson was dating a man named Fred Sarma Jr., who also served as a father figure to Eminem, she wrote in her book. Nathan Samra Mathers was born on February 3, 1986, but by then his father, Fred, was out of the picture. Nathan never understood why Fred had been so good to Marshall but didn't want to know him. I couldn't explain it to him either. I too was hurt that Fred had abandoned us, Nelson penned. Like his big brother, Nathan has dabbled in the music industry. He and his wife tied the knot in 2018 and share 3 children. Nathan was also at Super Bowl LVI in 2022 to watch Eminem's halftime performance. Between her 2 sons, Nelson was a grandmother of 6. Eminem shares 3 children with his ex-wife Kim Scott, Haley Jade Scott, Elena Scott, and Stevie Lane Scott. The rapper welcomed his daughter, Haley, in Detroit on December 25, 1995. In the early 2000s, he legally adopted his niece, Elena, following the death of her biological mother, Kim's sister, Dawn Scott. Eminem legally adopted Stevie, whom Kim welcomed between her 2 marriages to Eminem in 2005. Meanwhile, Nathan is also a father of 3. He shares a daughter and 2 sons with his wife. Well, it's not such a bad legacy to leave behind, but the big question remains, will Eminem ever forgive his mother, even in death? And that's it from us today. Until next time, thank you for watching.